My microphone is on.
Oh, that one right there.
Hello. Happy Year of Luigi, everybody. Mamma mia, it's a good day to be here in Sacramento.
Mamma mia, it's a Luigi's here. Yahoo!
Hey, what's about my Luigi here? I never get the year.
Oh, have a rotten day. Oh, man.
Oh, wait, I forgot about Luigi. And Baby Mario. Woohoo!
Hi, everybody. Sorry to keep you waiting, and thank you so much for coming here today. What a thrill to see everybody. Let me see if I can reach over there and grab my water. But hang on a second. Hang on a second, because I have to have water.
Whoa, water!
Is this one on too? Yeah, it is.
Just to bring your life water!
I could do a panel discussion with myself. I could be all like, hey, and Mario, what do you think about this Bowser in the movie? Well, he wasn't bad, but I don't know. I lived him over the top. I think you was a pretty good, but I wish I would have been in there too. Mamma mia, let's open the movie, yahoo!
My name is Charles, and I'll be your host today. What a fun thing. I love SAG Anime. It's so cool. You guys are great. It's wonderful to see you. Am I supposed to be in the middle there, or am I supposed to be just anywhere? They're not videotaping it, so I don't have to worry about like being in frame.
So people are going to have questions. They're going to line up here and they're going to ask.
Oh, okay. Fantastic. So, I did a panel discussion yesterday, but if you don't mind, I'll start the panel discussion the same way I do, because a lot of people ask me, how did you get the job of Mario? And it's really quite simple. I crashed an audition. I totally was not invited to the audition. And I was on the beach, relaxing, and a friend of mine calls me up and says, hey, you gotta go to this audition. It's for a trade show in Las Vegas. And I said, there's absolutely no way I would ever crash an audition. I'm a professional actor. I'm supposed to be invited, and I, sign in with my card and everything. And I don't know how, but somehow he convinced me to go. Hang up the phone with him, and I'm like, grumble, 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 enjoying the beats, and I go to this audition. I'm walking in the door, and the cameraman and the producer are walking out the door. And I'm like, oh, hello, can I read for this part? And I mean, the guy literally goes like this, he goes, He was like 2 steps from a cocktail hour is what I think it was. And he goes, all right, come on in. We'll set up the camera. You think about this. You're an Italian plumber from Brooklyn. Okay? So you're a video game character, so make up an accent, make up a whatever, and then make up a video game. And start talking, or whatever you want. It doesn't have to be a video game. Just start talking, and whenever you stop talking, that's your audition. And I'm like, okay, Italian plumber from Brooklyn, obviously. Hey, how you doing? I'm under your sink. Don't bother me here, Or, hey, I'm waiting here. Get out of my face. And I'm thinking, well, that would be not so fun if you were like, there were kids around, and you talk to them all day long. It's like, whoa, this guy, Mark. So I'm thinking, well, I played Gremio in Taming of the Shrew a few years ago, and I thought, maybe I could make it nicer. A nice old Italian guy, he can talk like an easy. And maybe I'll do that and make him younger and, more vital, but I don't know anything about video games, And he had said, well, listen, what you're going to do is you'll have these contacts glued to your face. And when you talk, this cartoon character of Mario, Italian plumber from Brooklyn, he'll move his face in the same time. You say, hello, he'll go, hello, and then you can see people with a hidden camera, and you can hear people with a hidden microphone, and we have no idea if this is going to work or not, but if it doesn't work, you got to talk all day. So start talking, and just whatever, just you talk, and whenever you stop, that's your audition. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I don't know anything about video games except what do you mean a character in a video game, And I'm sitting there thinking, well, I'll take that challenge though, because if you say to me, start talking, and whenever you run out of things to say, as you can see, that really doesn't happen very often. So I'm like sitting there thinking, well, I don't know anything about games, but I like food. And I hear action, and I turn the camera and I said, hello, I'm a Mario. Let's make a pizza pie together. You go get some sausage, I'm gonna get some spaghetti. We're gonna put the spaghetti and the sausage in the pizza, and I'm gonna chase you with the pizza. If I catch you with the pizza, you're gonna eat the pizza. Then we're gonna make another pizza. You're gonna chase me with the pizza. If you catch me with the pizza, we're gonna make it. And then we're gonna make a spaghetti meatball, you know? And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, for sure he's gonna say, stop, you know, stop that, stop that. And he doesn't, you know? And so I moved on to every food group, you know, that I could think of. Eating, chasing, running, chasing, eating, chasing, running, chasing, eating, eating, eating. You know, kitchen sink, and then, okay, then we'll hop in the sink and we'll go down the mountain with the meatballs coming behind us. And, you know, and I just kept going on, and I kept thinking, okay, he's bound to say stop at one point. And then, okay, he's not going to say stop. Oh, you know, and then we'll make a little moon rocket, and we'll go up to it's fueled by meatballs, you know. And all of a sudden I did. I heard, cut, stop talking, please. There's no more tape. Thank you. We'll be in touch, you know. And which for an actor, of course, is the kiss of death. That means we'll see you later, you know. And I said, okay, well, thank you very much. And I would head back to the beach for watching the sunset, which is what I do. And he gets on the phone, calls Nintendo, said, I found our Mario, I got him. And that was the only tape that he sent up there. And that was 23 years ago, about. And it's been 23 years of, like, total, absolute joy ever since, you know? I'm grateful for every single day, because everything that I get to do at Nintendo is a great joy. You know, I work with the most wonderful creative people at Nintendo, the creative people in Japan, in America, and around the world. And I work with the PR people who are some of my favorite people in the whole wide world, all over the world. You know, and then I get to come to anime conventions like this and meet you wonderful people, and I just, thank you for being such great fans, and for, you know, having such passion and joy in the games and the anime and the things that you do, because I think that's a lesson to the whole wide world. It's a way of making a map, you know, when you live with your heart and your joy and your passion and with complete freedom like you guys do in the pursuit of what is your happiness, you know, that's the greatest thing about being who we are, you know, living our freedom and living our destiny. And I always say to everybody, because I really am the luckiest guy in the world, you know. I have so much joy and so much love and so much happiness in my world. And I wish that for every single one of you. And the only thing I can say is the way that I found it was not, I bungled through the whole thing. So there was nothing that said, I am going to be a voiceover actor. Never in my life did I have anything to, I've never been quite that conscious. But you know, I knew I wanted to be happy. I knew I wanted to live a life of travel and dreams and joy and fun and love and, you know, and playfulness and you know, and so that was my aim, and I was going to be a lawyer. Now, okay, there's probably not a lot of joy in being a lawyer, but you know, I was going to go to law school and then go international law and then go live in London or Paris or, you know, someplace like that. I thought, well, that's perfect. And then I was in college and I couldn't get a single one of the classes with the one professor that I had ever had that made me think, you know, that asked me to think on a final exam, you know. And I went, that's the guy that I'm going to write my thesis with. That's the thing. There's my destiny right there. And I went back to UC Berkeley for my last quarters, and I couldn't get a single class with him. And I'm like, I am not taking it from this other guy. That's where I draw the line in the sand, and I'm not going to do it. So I left Cal Berkeley, you know, which is like something that I suppose some people did on purpose. For me, it was like, if I can't do that, I'm not going to play, you know. That was me. And a friend of mine said, you've got to come and take an acting class from me. And I said, Les, there is absolutely no way in the world I could ever stand up in front of people and talk. It's just impossible. It's terrifying. And he goes, no, you can do this. I said, no, I can't. He goes, yeah, you can. I said, no, I can't. I really can't. He goes, yeah, you can. I'll tell you what, come to the school, and you and I will have lunch in, you know, because there's a student chef program. So the food is wonderful, and we'll have lunch, and then we'll go to the acting class. And I'm like, food? Food? Well, I'll walk through fire for that. And so that's how he convinced me, through my stomach, you know, which is obviously the way to convince me with everything, you know. So I went to the acting class, and the first thing you do in acting class is you start learning monologues, right? You start like, you know, and of course he chooses the Spoon River anthology of these monologues of people that were dead, you know, that come back and they go, oh, my name is Joe. I died in a fire. It was terrible. You know, and it's like the worst hammy sort of script you can possibly imagine. And it's like, how do you make that real, you know? And not only that, how do you say something in front of people without dying, you know? And so I learned my first monologue, and I actually think it was Joe. And I think he did die in the fire. But I remember that I hid in the back underneath the chair, hoping, you know, this is my Waluigi life. I mean my Luigi life. You know, I just hiding behind the chair, thinking, maybe he won't choose me. And I went through. Everybody went through, and then I was the last one. I'm like, oh my God. I am going to die. I am going to die. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. My name is Joe. I died a horrible death in the fire, you know, and I'm sitting there as I start talking, my right knee starts going like this, you know, it's like, and, you know, and I'm like, oh my goodness, you know, I put my weight on it, you know, because I figured everyone's seeing it, and then that knee starts going, and I'm convinced that people are hearing, well, my name is Joe, and I'm from the fire. You know? And so I think, okay, put your weight evenly and stand in the middle, and then they won't, you know, then you'll be okay. And then they're both shaking like this. Like that. I lived. By the way, I didn't die. Because I thought I would. And you know, it's so funny because I finished, and people like, you know, everyone, yay, and I'm like, oh, that was terrible. That was terrible. And the comments were, you're the only person that wasn't nervous. And I'm like, going, you know, they can't see the sweat in my palms and my, you know, palms, you know. And I don't know why, but that said something to me like, So I can be terrified and you don't know that, you know? And so I, you know, did another monologue and a, you know, scene, and I started realizing I can kind of do this, and I'm like, I start getting really confident. I can be an actor. I can be actor, you know? And so the school auditions for Midsummer Night's Dream, and of course, what do I want to play? Oberon, King of the Fairies, you know? There lies Titania sometime. But I'm like, oh, this is perfect. I'm made for this. I study. I practice, rehearse. My friend Les, oh, that's excellent, very good, very good. Don't get your hopes too high. There's this college, you know, and you know you might not be part of the drama department, but don't worry. And so of course we go in, we do this audition in front of everybody. We watch each other in theater, you know, in college. And I watched everybody, and I did it myself. I went last, as I am wont to do. And I went and I did my thing, and I felt like really good, you know. There lies Titania sometime. But then I'm like, oh yeah, I scorched it, I got it, I did it, you know. And the casting went up like 2 days later, and I like, well, I kind of went, yeah, well, I'll go see what I got here, you know. and I look and I was like, let me see now, Charles Martinet. This is before internet searches, because if I had been there, it would have come up 0, 0. Sorry, 0 out of 0. I got nothing, not even Spirit Carrier, not the guy that holds the leaf up in the air, nothing. And I'm like, wait a minute, you know? And so somehow that set the fire on me to be an actor, you know? And I don't know why that would do it. That would teach a normal person, well, hon, it's not working for you, try something else, you know? Try plumbing, you know? It didn't work for me that way. I started doing speech. I went speech stuff, a speech team. We won the state championship and the national championship, and I kept doing more scene work and more study. And then along came Berkeley Repertory Theater and auditioned for a summer apprenticeship program at UC at Berkeley Rep. And I went in there, and all the same guys that had just finished doing the play Midsummer Night's Dream were there, and I auditioned with Oberon, because I'm a brat. Yeah, I'm a brat. So I auditioned for that, and I got into the apprenticeship program. And I started studying there, and then I said, okay, I'm going to go to acting school to be a really professional actor. I went to England, went to school, and then came back to America. Some, tragic things sort of happened with friends of mine, and so I went down to San Jose Rep when I started working there, and then I got tired of doing theater altogether, because it just was I just wasn't giving me the joy that I had before. And so I kind of quit, and then a friend of mine calls me up and says, and this is how I bump my way through life. He goes, why don't do you want to come and do an audition for a corporate video? And I said, sure, what's a corporate video? He goes, well, it's a video, and it's corporate. It's just like acting in the theater, except there's a camera there. And I'm like, oh, well, sure, I'd be happy to do that, And I went and I started auditioning for those, and I got like 10 out of 10. And they paid as much for a day of work, and they were much more fun and silly and creative than when I was getting paid a week in theater at 60 hours a week. So I'm like, this is fun, and then I'm just doing that, and then all of a sudden one of the videos says, well, this is great, why don't you do trade shows with us? So I stumbled into trade shows, and then I get sort of doing things. I'm an actor on a commercial, I can't remember what that's called. American Gothic, where the husband is standing there with the pitchfork in his hand. That looks like me a lot. I'm 25 years old, I'm supposed to be.
Next to the woman?
Yeah, next to the farmer's wife. Yeah, and she's like, I too, I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's fine, because, in those days, lighting people took like 700 hours to light 10 seconds of film, So we did our day, and the director goes, that's great. Listen, do you do voiceover? And I said, sure. What's a voiceover? Well, you just read this copy here, and you just, it has to be like in 8 seconds or 10 seconds. And I looked at it and I said, sure. Put the microphone. Orchard Supply Hardware, the right item at the right price, right now. Great, here's more money. And I'm like, oh! Look at that, I'm a voiceover actor. So when I talk about destiny, you can take it with a grain of salt because I fall into it one way or another. But the one common thing that I can say is commitment to happiness, commitment to joy, commitment to fun. And, that's one of the greatest gifts that I have is receiving your sense of joy and happiness in playing the games. And that's why for me, I really mean it's a tremendous honor and a tremendous joy to do what you love to do in life, for me to do what I love to do in life, and to be received so beautifully by so many people. And that, thank you so much for that. And I will continue doing these voices as long as I can, I promise. Over there, and I think you got to go up to the microphone, and they're going to figure out how to do that. And I'm going to drink a drink of water. That's the thing too, is when you do voiceover work, you want to really drink a lot of water.
Oh God, that's a lot.
I do, when we do recording sessions, we do like a 4-hour session, and I go through probably, I don't do bottles because it's not ecologically sound, but I do like the equivalent of like 12 of those in a 4-hour day at the very least. Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Joshua Machado, it's nice to meet you. Charles Marionette. I was wondering, which character is your favorite? Like, which one's like the voiceover?
Which one is my favorite?
Yeah.
The favorite of Charles Martinet, also known as Marionette, that's really cool, Marionette, which is what I do with the Mario in real time, by the way, it's Marionette work. It's I sit there with a game controller, and I make Mario, wave, and it's like, hello there, how are you? Oh, look at that, you got that red hat on. I'm beside myself, so, that's what I do, I say, oh yeah, I was looking at the princess this morning, Mamma Mia. My favorite character is Mario. It will always be Mario. I love Luigi, because I'm more like Luigi than I am like Mario. But I definitely, I love Mario. He's, one thing about acting, and then, for any young actor, it's like all acting is basically the same thing. It's just that in a film, all you have to do is think something, and it comes out through your soul. In a television, you have to think something, but in an active way. And theater, you have to demonstrate in some way, even though your concentration is on the thinking and the action of it, but you still have to demonstrate it somehow. You can't go, this is the greatest apple ever, you know, nobody can see it, you know? And then with cartoons, you can go, wow, this is the greatest apple ever, you know, because you be in that truth, you think it, you feel it, you emote it, you show it, and you take it over the top, you know, in a lot of animation. In some animation, they go the opposite way. It's like, let's be smaller, but, you know, the truth is always in the character. And the truth of Mario's character, getting back to your question, sorry, you know, I love Mario because I love that aspect of his character that he's, you know, in love, a common man, rescues a princess, falls in love with a princess, you know, and faces every challenge with a let's go, you know. I think that's great. I personally am more like Luigi. I'm like, oh no, Mamma Mia, I'm gonna fly tomorrow, you know, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't pack, I didn't pack, I did this, I did this, I did that. What am I gonna do? Oh my god. Is that a cough? You know, it's like, you know, paranoia, delusion, you know, this sort of things. But that's what voiceover actors do. Is like, you're always like, my throat. Was that? Oh no, that was me breathing. Okay. But that's, you know, you get to know yourself as a performer, and that's what you do. But that's, I think, Mario. Thank you very much. Thanks for asking. Thank you. I'll try to be more efficient in my answer. Hi.
Hi. Have you ever mixed up your characters, like mixed up with a Mario with a Luigi, or a Luigi with a Waluigi?
You know, I have done that. You know, the first time somebody asked me that question, I honestly said no. I never have. And I have to confess, I'm a human being, and it's like, you know, it's a terrible confession. No, it's a great confession. But you know, sometimes, you know, you know, this morning, when I usually I was up in the morning early doing Sacramento's daytime thing, and Good Morning Sacramento or something like that.
Good Day Sacramento.
Yeah, Good Day Sacramento.
Saw you this morning.
And I'm half asleep, and I start doing like Wario, but with Waluigi line in my head, and I'm like, you know, if you watch it, you go, well, he's confused right there. Confused, you know, see. So yeah, I have, you know, but in general, you know, those characters live with me, you know, they're 24/7, they're in me, and I wake up in the morning and go, let's go, you know, and I'm, you know, when I'm going to get I find myself driving on you know, so yeah, they're always there, and I guess, yes, they do get confused. They never argue though, really. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi.
Hello, Nathan Allen.
Hi,
this is
Nathan.
a really random question. It has nothing to do with what you do. Is that alright if I ask a really random question?
Yes, if I can't answer it, I won't.
Alright, has anyone ever told you how strikingly similar you look to Jeff Daniels? Yeah.
You know, a couple of people have. You know, I don't see it, but people say I look like my brother, and I'm like, that guy? You know, and then, you know, I went into a casting one day for a movie called The Game. You know, and the cashier looks at me, and you know, they sent us the script, which is really weird. I read the whole script, you know, and I go in and he goes, so now how do you see yourself in this movie? And I'm like, well, you know, I mean, there are a couple of businessmen who are in one scene. He goes, I don't see that. I see you as Michael Douglas's father. And I'm like, really? That's interesting. Why? You look exactly like him. And I'm like, what? And you know, and I got, and then you know, I was so busy right then. I almost didn't get that part because the director's like, well, I want to meet him at 4 o'clock on Tuesday. I'm like, I can't come at 4 o'clock on Tuesday. I'm working at 4 o'clock on Tuesday. I'll see you at 6 o'clock on Tuesday. How dare you? But you know, but somehow I managed to get that part. It was very nice, and the director was an extremely nice guy, and brought me to the top of this roof of the Filoli Mansion and said, would you mind jumping off this? Of course not, you know. How about we get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and do it, you know? And you know, and so I did that movie. It was a really great fun movie to do. I got to meet Michael Douglas and Sean Penn, and got to work with a really great director. And, you know,
Okay.
thank you for asking.
I like that. Keep being awesome.
Thank you.
I like your shirt.
Thank you very much.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, yeah, like we were mentioning earlier about the Mario in real time, there's actually YouTube clips of that, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I noticed a lot, some of the gags are kind of similar to the Mario Head videos in, I think, Mario Teaches Typing 2.
Yeah, that was the technology we used in Mario Teaches Typing 2.
Yeah, those videos to kind of have a bit of a following on the internet.
Yeah, you know, it's the funniest thing because my philosophy of comedy is I mean, obviously, as with, you know, all creation and creativity, as a creative person, you can either do it from the dark side or the light side. The side that lacks and misses and everything, or the side that is like happy and joyful. And I consciously choose to go from the happy side. You know, there's Picasso and Rodin, great artists with a tragic sort of mistress life and things, or there can be very positive aspects of creativity, and I go for the positive creative aspects. And now at this point is where I have to say, what exactly was your question? Because I know I went a little bit left.
How do you feel about the clips from the game? It's a bit of an internet sensation.
We're talking about Mario then.
Yeah, Mario Teach Typing 2, the Mario Head clips.
Yeah,
how do you feel about that being a bit of a thing on the internet?
So thank you. So my version of comedy with Mario, thank you very much. I appreciate that because heaven knows I don't always follow the. Sometimes I can get back there. You know, it's like I used to go fishing and you try to cast it a long way. It's like, come on back, baby, you know, and bring a fish, will you? You know. So yeah, sometimes I miss that. What did you ask? No. I wanted with Mario from that beginning of that audition. It's like I'm going to amuse you, but I am not going to be, you know, like, you know, because what happened in that audition. No, I'm going to go again. Is everybody else, and you know, I don't know how many, lots of people at the audition would go like, hey, my name is Mario. I'm under your sink. I'm doing the plumbing work here. What's going on here? You mean something like that? And as soon as they broke character, you know, you'd say, yeah, like that. Thank you. Next, you know, because he asked you to go on and not stop, you know? So for me, it's like, if I'm going to go on, I don't want to be going like, hey, you know, hey, you're an ugly guy. What's the matter with you with that haircut? That hoo-hoo? You know, I don't want to be harmful because when my first acting class ever, there was a guy with a stutter. And he, you know, and I said, well, how did you get the stutter? Did you always have it? You know, because of your pals. He goes, no, I was at 21st birthday. I was at a show in Las Vegas. My friends took me to, and this comedian, who's a very well-known comedian in the time, you know, was all about, you know, a comedy by insults. You know, you moron, what's the matter with you? And it's, you know, they singled this guy out. Oh, it's your birthday. I hear it's your birthday. You know, hey, you fat, pimply kid. What's the matter with you? You ugly, you know. And he just kept going at this guy, and all his friends are laughing, the audience is laughing, and this guy's getting humiliated. And so he, you know, he woke up the next morning with a stutter, and he had it ever since. So for me, a pillar in my life is I will never make comedy that's hurtful. So along comes the Mario thing. I got back to it because it really is linked. You know, the decision I made was to make comedy that was fun and joyful and sweet and innocent, because I think that's the character aspect in all of us that I think we all need to touch and return to. So, I get emotional about that, because I think it's really true. So, that comedy is always based on the most silly stuff. You know, it's like, he's my impression of Arnold Schwarzenegger in the movie Terminator. I'm gonna be back! Thank you very much! Thank you. You know, so it's like, you know, all the comedy all the time was like that, you know. So the Mario Teaches Typing, that was using that head technology, and that was really fun. That was like the first, if you said game, that really is the first game. It wasn't, but it wasn't really a game. The first real game was Mario 64, you know, which was like, that was just such a joy. Every time I saw Mr. Miyamoto in the hallways at CES, I would say, Papa! You know, he'd laugh and we'd take some pictures, and I still call him Papa. He's the most absolutely wonderful, delightful, truly great human being who has given so much to all of us, and is just a regular guy that you can, you know, just, you know, you can just say, hi, how are you? Oh, very well, I'm very happy to see you. You know, just a beautiful guy. So, yes, all that stuff, I think I was just really lucky that Mr. Miyamoto and I are on the same, I happen to rise to his level of thinking or emotion in that audition somehow, and then in the subsequent jobs we sort of like fleshed out the character and learned more and more what the character was. And that will always be a character of innocence and joy and fun and sweetness. And innocence, it really is something that you choose. As you get older, you know, when you're young in childhood, you have the beauty of innocence that just, you know, that goes through you. When you get older, you know, as life has its little nicks and dings, you start having the opportunity to be either cynical or to re-choose your innocence, you know, and I choose to go back to my innocence again and again, and remember that as a choice, you know. I don't like cynicism, and that's why even the cynicism of Wario and Waluigi is a harmless cynicism. It's a harmless sort of self-pity, you know, as much as it can be. So, sorry, that's a long answer to that question. Did I answer?
I think so, because it was more, you know, how do you feel about those videos, you know, they feel a bit of a minor sensation on the internet.
Good. That was a better answer. That second one was like, it was more concise, right? Hi. How are you?
I'm Mason, and
Hi, Mason.
I wanted to ask you, how early do you hear from the new games, or how early do you hear about them?
How early do I hear about the games? That's a great question. You know, very often I hear about things years in advance, and then very often I hear about things like 3 or 4 weeks before. It's like, okay, we're recording this, boom, you know. And the video game industry is very, you know, it's secretive, you know. You don't. So when we record titles, they're often not given the title that it's going to have in the game, you know, just so that nobody, you know, goes out and goes, oh, we're making Super Mario Galaxy 2, you know, because if you start putting that rumor out there, then, you know, the marketing people and the people that are smarter than I am, they go, oh no, that would be a mistake. So sometimes I hear about a game really early, sometimes I read about it on a fan page, and sometimes I find out about it when we're about to record. Yeah, it's all kind of great fun, because I have such a great relationship with Nintendo, and I have so much trust and faith that whatever comes up is going to be tremendous fun, that every time I get a phone call from them, I'm like, yahoo! So it's good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yay.
Hello. Would you please fly for me?
Would I what?
Would you please fly for me?
Fly? Oh, you know, I do in my dreams all the time. And sometimes I'm flying as Mario. I've even had the little wing hat on. You know, that's my favorite dream in the whole wide world, is flying. You know, and it's often kind of like over the water and the mountains and things, and flying. You know, I think maybe 1 or 2 times it's been in space, but usually it's like flying over water and mountains. I can see the blue sky and the white, you know, clouds and things. I wish I could do it for you right now, though. You don't want to see me try.
That's great news! Referencing Mario just typing 2.
What's that?
I think he's referencing Mario just typing 2, because there's that one clip, you know, where he calls, I'm gonna fly for you.
Oh, that's right, Mario. Oh gosh, that brings back so many great memories. You know, when it was just a floating head, I used to be able to click a button and I'd put the audience out there, you know, and they'd be like, you know, sitting there talking, and I'd put Mario's head on top of somebody. So it looked like, you know, and I'd say, okay, now you gesture. Hello, my name is Bob. I'm having a great time. You know, and people would just sit there gesturing around like that with Mario's head on top of them. It was like, I don't know why that was funny for me, but again, it's comedy. Thank you. Did I answer that? Okay. I didn't really fly. I could like sit on the table and go like that. You could cut out the bottom part. Hi. Hi. Go ahead, ask me anything.
Now this may be kind of out of the blue, but do you think Mario is a communist? I know what you are all thinking, that I might be insane or something, but when you kind of look at the evidence, the hat, he's wearing red, the mustache, the hammer, his rivals, King, the Koopa, and Wario, an American stereotype, it kind of does make sense.
I have never, ever even had the first thought on that line.
You ever thought about that?
No, I don't think he's a communist. I think he's a man who's in love with a princess, which is not a communist thing to do, who rescues her from a turtle with a pokey back named Bowser, you know, and is in love and spends his life going, Yahoo! But thanks for asking.
Oh man.
Hi. Hello, Brandon. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, Mario. Luigi, get me out of here. Oh, come on, bro. was great fun. Yeah, it's really neat. Thank you.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, you know, every minute of my life is fun when I'm working like that. It's just that's what I should do my whole life, just work. Because it's so totally joyful. Thank you.
Thank you too. I really enjoy that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
10 minutes from spam.
Oh, 10 minutes. I thought you wanted spam. Oh, sorry. I thought you were spam. 10 minutes, really? Oh, gosh. Okay, I'll talk faster.
What is your least favorite Mario game?
What is my least favorite Mario game? I love every Mario game I've ever done. You know, I go from the position of total joy and fun, and you know, I don't know anything about business or anything about marketing or anything about, you know, I know when I see that game, like when I walk in and I see Mario Galaxy, I know I get goosebumps on, you know, all over me when I see that game for the first time, or Super Mario Bros. Wii. I'm laughing when the turtles are moving around. So I've loved every single game I've ever been a part of and played. There's no least favorite for me. They're all favorites. Yeah. Thank you. Hi. How are you?
If you could be the voice from any other Nintendo game, who would it be?
If I could be the voice of any other Nintendo game, who would it be? Well, I like Star Fox a lot. That's a lot of action and adventure sort of stuff. Those guys are really good at the ones that do it.
Do a barrel roll.
Really. You don't want to see that. That would be great. The whole stage would come down, the building could fall over. It would be horrible. Yeah, I actually thought one day too, I thought maybe I could be the voice of Link, you know. But then, you know, too, what you learn as an actor is to trust the creative process. And to know that those people that you work with know what they're doing, and the creative teams at Nintendo know what they're doing. Link has just the right amount of voice. Mario has just the right amount of voicing. And I could sit there going, oh, Mamma Mia, welcome to my game. I'm super duper happy to see you. And that'd be fun for me. But for the player, it'd be like, you know? So I trust that creative process so much. And I'm so happy with what I've got. I couldn't ask for more. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hope you like them. Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Do you watch any anime?
Do I watch any anime? You know something? I am criminally negligent in the anime department, and I should. You know, what I need to do is know 10 that I have to watch, because I've seen about 10. I've loved them all, but I don't know when they're on TV because I don't really watch TV, and I don't really know, you know, that sort of thing. So I will. Promise. By next year I will have watched some. Hi.
Hey, this is Sean.
Hi, Sean.
How was your first exposure to the original Super Mario Brothers?
My first exposure was spectacular because it was my doing the Mario in real time. And that was totally fun. And Nintendo's always been so incredibly generous with me. I went from that to right away, you know, I did it that second time, and a third time, fourth time. Then all of a sudden there was this character Wario there. And I was sitting there always playing with kids always go, and I talk to Luigi. I said, Luigi's not here. I think he's over in the kitchen. Hang on a second. And Luigi!
Yeah, what do you want?
I go, yeah, what do you want?
My friends want to come and say hello to you. I'm in the kitchen.
He says he's in the kitchen. You know? So I made you know, you want to come out and say hello?
Oh, no, I'm too shy.
He says he's too shy. You know? So I made up the voice of the voice. It's just been character fun after fun after fun. 5 minutes? No way, really? Okay. Next, I'm sorry, thank you. Yes?
Joseph Len from yesterday. Love the games. Mario's always been my best friend ever since I was never allowed to play GoldenEye or Perfect Dark or anything.
Thank you.
My parents raised me right. I was only allowed to play Mario. Best friend ever. In your bio, you mentioned that you are very interested and you have a passion in European art, culture, and history.
Yes.
Which time period in European history is your favorite?
Well, you know, that's interesting. I love all of European history. I've read about 30 books in the last year and a half on pre-World War II, World War II, and post-World War II.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, that sort of that cycle and how fascism has an opportunity to rise, you know, because it's so much the opposite of my life. That's been a fascination lately. But I also love romantic period. I love that sort of, you know, the romantic, Elizabethan, every period. Dark Ages, it's like, why were they dark? You know, why, you know, how human beings have changed throughout history is incredible to me.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank
Glad
you.
you could come.
Thank you, me too.
Woo.
Hi.
Oh. Oh, hey, I just wondered that a lot of people at some point thought that Mario is probably at one point, Mario is just as popular as Mickey Mouse at some point.
Yeah, you know, I've heard he's actually better known than Mickey Mouse. Which is like, wow.
How do you feel being called the Wayne Allwyn of our generation?
The what?
Wayne Allwyn,
The last voice actor for Mickey Mouse.
Oh, well, gosh, you know, it's an incredible honor and an incredible joy. You know, some people are really nervous when they meet me. It's like, oh my God, I mean, you know, and I'm just a guy. You know, I'm just a guy that, you know, I am the luckiest guy in the world who gets to do what I love and got this wonderful, wonderful character that lives in me every day. So, you know, it feels wonderful, but it's also very humbling because, you know, let's face it, as actors, you wait for the possibility of working, and when you get that chance and it lasts for 23 years, it's pure joy, and with that character of all.
Well, you're getting there with Wayne Allwyn. He's, I think, was 37?
Wow, really?
Yeah.
I'll be Grandpa Mario. Woo-hoo. Thank you. Thank you. Hi. Oh, sorry. I don't get a reach out of that.
Hello there. Hi. Just saying, first off, Super Mario 64 was one of the very first games I ever played. It had a huge impact on me. It was awesome.
Thank you.
And I'm actually curious, when did you first realize how much of an impact Mario had on social media? Was there a specific experience you had when you kind of had that, oh my God, reality?
You know, I was walking through E3 or something one day, and somebody said, excuse me, are you Charles Martinet? I said, yes. You do the voice of Mario? I said, yes. He goes, would you sign something for me? And I said, sure. I don't have a pen, I don't have a paper. I'll find a pen, I'll find a paper. Do you have a piece of paper? You have a pen? And he's like, digs through something, he has it. And, you know, he pulls it out, and I start writing, and I look up, and there are like 15 or 20 people. I'm like, hey, you know. So all of a sudden I realized, like, wow, you know, it's a phenomenon, you know. And lucky me to be a part of it, yeah. Yeah, that was about 12, 15 years ago. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. There's the nice man who gave me a bottle of water this morning when I was doing my news thing. Thank you for that.
By the way.
Yeah.
So I want to ask, who would win a fight, Mickey Mouse or Mario?
Mario. Maybe one day the Smash Brothers will find out, you know?
Oh yeah, we have to do it.
I got Mega Man, we might as well bring on Mickey. Bring him on!
Totally tell him to do that.
Thank you. I didn't quite understand that last part.
You should tell them to put Mickey Mouse in.
Wouldn't that be fun? That'd be like hilarious, wouldn't it? I mean, I can't wait. Yeah. Thank you. You look great too. I love that hair. Thanks so much.
So awesome.
Hi.
Yours was best
question.
question.
At the start that you don't know much about video games, but it's obvious to say that you do now and you love the Mario series.
Yes.
My personal favorite is Zelda, and I gotta ask you, what is your favorite aside from the Mario series?
Hey, Zelda. You know, I was just at Gamescom in Germany, you know, and we had like a Zelda game there, and I'm like, I played the 3D World, and I played the Mario Kart 8, and, you know, and I'm like, oh, look at that, it's a Zelda game. You know, and I walk over to it, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is fun. Oh my goodness, like crying my cold dead hands. You have to let somebody up. No, I can get that pig. It was great. I love Zelda. Just fantastic. I've never played a Kirby game, though. I'm terribly sad. I know. I gotta play a Kirby game, huh?
Superstar's a good one to start.
Superstar. Okay, that's where I'll start. Superstar. Superstar.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Hi, Jason Stefani, representing the Sacramento Italians. I was just, let's see, I'll try and keep this short, sweet, to the point, but I love you as Mario, loved you as that news reporter in the Deadpool with Clint Eastwood.
Thank you.
Blinking, you'll miss it. But I'm just wondering, how do you get into the voiceover industry? I mean, that was an amazing story that you delivered, and this is a dream come true getting to meet you, and I've always considered having a great career in the voiceover industry. How do you get into it, Mr. Martinet?
Well, you know, that's about a 5-hour question. Being a voiceover actor is the same as being an actor. So you start studying acting. I would say take some acting classes in college if you can, junior college. Take acting classes, take video classes, you know, for newscasting or for acting, for theater, speech classes, so that you start developing a muscle. And then you start realizing, as I was saying earlier, that the traits of acting are all the same. There's a through line to all of it. you know, that you're thinking and feeling those emotions. The question is the size. And so as you study the human character and the human being, you play these parts of a good, bad, jealous, angry, you know, destined, tragic, all these other characters, you start weaving it together, and that comes into your work. And then there it is for voiceover. It's the same thing.
Thank you very much. And if I wasn't so afraid of death, I would take either a bullet or a fireball for you.
Oh, thank you. I'm out of time. We have one young man. I just want to ask this one last question. Hi. It's a Mario. Is that a Tanuki Mario?
It's a Luigi.
Oh, that's a Tanuki. Oh, that's a. Is that a kitty?
No, it's a Tanuki.
Oh, Tanuki.
Well, I bought this with the rest of my money for you. I also have another quick question.
Sure.
So I can't think of anything. How do you think of the Wii U sales, and how are they doing poorly? Do you wish they were doing better?
You know, I don't know anything about that sort of thing. You know, honestly, I'm not in the business aspect of it at all. You know, maybe I don't know, we use like Luigi, you know, stronger, younger, more powerful, more strong, and it takes longer, you know, longer before he's like recognized. Because that's the great thing about the year of Luigi for me is like, ho ho, he gets his time in the limelight, and I'm sure that's going to happen too. Because the games that I'm seeing for the Wii U are just incredible fun, and you know, wait till you play a 3D World. It's just
can't wait.
Yeah, 3D World.
Yeah.
Oh.
Is that it? That's it. That's it.
That's for you.
Yeah, question on part of the staff, and guys, your panel's over.
Cool.
Thank you so much for coming.
See you again next year. Thank you very much. A gift from that wonderful young man. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Oh, you can go. You can go. All right.
Check out bkbn.net. Jason David Frank, Tommy the Green Ranger.